Hello crafters and welcome back. Just wanted to let you know that it really bugged me that this was wrong. So I went ahead and I took everything out and I redid it. As you can see, it's working just fine. The pictures are now in a different position because I really didn't want to cut any more than I cut already. So therefore, I had to switch positions for the pictures in order to properly fit in the spaces allowed by this mechanism. So I'm going to put this on the side, and now let's continue working on our pieces. So this is here we are. This is our piece, and let me give you the dimensions of the pictures as well as of the, how do you call it, of the matting. So, oops, let me take the mouse out of the way. Okay, so the front piece, the one that slides back and forth, this piece. So the matting for it is 4 3/4 by 4, and the picture on it is 3 7/8, which is the original width of the picture. Like I told you, these pictures are not made in the US. And this is what I had to crop, 3 3/4. Now, the matting on the piece that comes from behind, okay, the piece that comes from behind. So here, the matting is 4 by 4 3/4, and the picture is 3 3/4 by 3 and no, sorry. So it's 3 3/4, yes, by, what do we have here? 4.5. For the piece that stays in place and doesn't move, it's the matting is all the way through, and it measures 10 3/8. Yes, 10 3/8 by 3 7/8. Okay, so let's see. And now the pictures. This picture that stays here on the left, it's 3 7/8 by 3 3/4. And the picture here on this other side, it's 3 7/8 by 3 3/4. Okay, let's take the frame. And I forgot to bring some cleaner in order to clean the frame before we go ahead, but that's okay. When we get to the smaller frames, I have to tell you that the transparency on those pictures are different sizes. So when I was looking at them last night, I realized that they are smaller than the previous ones. So I'm going to give you the measurements of the transparency for the smaller pockets. So in order to assemble this, first and foremost, make sure that, of course, you are putting this inside in the correct way and with the opening in the correct direction. So what we are going to do right now, is make sure that this is nice and straight. Put it face down and put it like 1/8 of an inch away from the score line, okay? From this score line, from the short score line. Make sure that the piece sits in between the other two score lines, so probably it's like 1/16 of an inch away from all of them. Take some wet glue. I would rather have wet glue on this side, and what we are going to do is to put some wet glue on the back of the piece and then come down with this piece, so the piece that we just mounted in glues onto this flap, okay? I'm trying to make sure that I'm all in good order. I'm nice and straight everywhere. You are more than free to use score tape, but sometimes I think wet glue is stronger than score tape, and while it's messy, it's more stable. Just trying once again, making sure that I'm nice and straight inside and I'm away from the score lines. Sorry if you see my head or my shadow in the picture. So 1/8 of an inch away from this score line. And now I'm going to glue this down and keep it there in place to make sure that it glues down properly. Okay, let's put this piece on the side and let it dry and work on the matting, the frame matting. So this piece is cut at 10 and a half by 5 1/8. So 10 and a half by 5 1/8. Now, if you don't have the frame punch, you will need to use your ruler and mark all the way around a 1/4 of an inch away from the end of your piece. So I would draw a 1/4 of an inch, a 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and then cut the frame that forms inside it. So, but I'm going to use this. I already applied tape, double-sided tape on the back. This is a 1-inch tape. What I normally like is to apply tape wider than the frame. So like this, once the frame is cut out, it has full coverage all the way around. So this is set up at a 1/4 of an inch on both sides. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut. Let's take the paper trimmer and let's remove the inside of the frame. So I'm gonna put it at a 1/4 of an inch. Making sure I'm nice and straight. Okay. Okay, so now I have tape coverage all the way around the frame. And we also get tape left here, so if you ever want to use this piece as a matting or something, you already have tape coverage all the way around, including around this, difficult to put glue or tape on borders. I mean, margins or sides. I should have done this before, but I forgot, so I am going to do some inking here. I normally try to do as much offline, especially these kind of things that, are easy to do offline, and sometimes I forget. because honestly, I don't want to bore anyone with the inking part. I know, like, from having experience, to be honest, when I watch tutorials, I always like skip ahead when I see a person is inking or, kind of things that um, we can do offline. Of course, it's a matter of the teacher's preferences. Maybe they want to show you how their technique of inking or their technique of cutting, etc. Um, so I am not criticizing the teachers. That's me just a preference as a student to sometimes forward through video if the teacher is doing inking, etc. So now we are ready to apply I'm going to flatten this out and we are going to apply the matting here. Let's move this to the side for a second and remove some of the tape backing. I'm not going to remove this entirely because this frame being so thin, it will definitely move around. So that's the reason why I'm just removing the ends of the tape, which will give me wiggle room to arrange the frame properly before I stick it down. Okay, so because I did not entirely remove the tape backing, this gives me wiggle room to shift the frame, the matching back and forth as I needed to in order to be able to glue it down. So I'm comfortable with the way it looks on this side. So this is when I press the ends, which are exposed. I'm going to do the same on the other side, and I like the way it looks there too. So I'm going to press down on the corners where the tape is exposed. And now slowly I'm going to pull on the tape backing and press this down slowly. And once I'm comfortable, I press it down properly so it glues down properly. Okay, same on this side. Okay, so this piece is almost finished. The only thing left is to actually put it on our project. But before we do that, let's finish the other frames, the smaller ones. Let me bring this over, transparency, and let me show you the other one that I've made. Try to get away from the glare. So this is the other one that it's already completed. And as you can see, of course, before I apply it on the project, I'm going to put more tape here. And then I'm ready to apply it on the project. So for the time being, let's put this on the side. So this is just an example. And like I said, the transparency for this, and the frame, of course, the transparency for the two smaller frames is 5 1/8 by 5 1/8. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use a 1/4 of an inch score tape and I'm going to apply it on the transparency. I know sometimes I change my mind, but it's only because of my experience of working with this. Like, maybe you think that one way is better, but then you realize that actually another way is better or much more comfortable. Nothing is set in stone when it comes to handmade crafting. And to be honest, there is no such thing as mistakes. Everything is unique. Everything has its own beauty. And to be honest, the customer will not even know that you actually had in mind something else, but something else turned out. And sometimes, you know what? Mistakes are much more beautiful than actually what you had in mind for that piece. It happened to me one too many times, to tell the truth. Again, I'm only exposing the ends. So that I can wiggle this on my pocket before I completely stick it down. Problem is, working with transparency has a mind of its own, as usual. Okay, so I applied it. It's probably like trying to get away from the glare. It's uh, like 1/8 of an inch away from the score line, or yeah, like 1/8 of an inch away from the score line on all four sides. Even up here, it's like 1/8 of an inch. So now you can feel comfortable to bend on your score lines and burnish them, of course. Because it's a smaller packet, it has a mind of its own. It wants to play around, but we need to force that paper, or tell that paper that we are the masters here. We say how it should go. Okay, let me see. This is the frame. Okay, this will be what is going to be matted inside. Okay, and this measures, I think it's the same as the frame. This measure 5 1/8 by 5 1/8, and my picture measures 4 1/8 by 4. So the picture will be glued right here inside, eyeballing it to be centered. So right now let's apply tape on the picture. Like I said, gluing the picture inside, it's a personal choice here. You can leave these pockets to be fully functional. I mean, they're created to be fully functional. The only difference is, instead of using a photo mat to pull the picture out of there if you want to, I just made them for the picture to stay inside, as if it's like a real picture frame. Okay, now I'm going to use my corner jumper. And I'm going to center this picture as much as I can. Okay, next I'm going to apply tape on the back of the mat. So this is where I'm going to apply 1/4 of an inch tape all the way around. making sure that when I place it inside, the picture is the right way. So as you can see, this is where the packet is open. So the pictures is the way you should see it in the album. I'm centering the mat. Actually, I can even remove the score lines, the paper backing. This mat is exactly the same size as the transparency. Therefore, all you have to do is just to place this on top of the transparency, and that will be the exact place for this. So right now I'm gonna push this here like this. And for the other two, I'm gonna hold up and I'm gonna let them pressing down like that. Actually, I shouldn't have removed this one on the top, sorry. Now I'm going to burnish it. And you can play with it so that it arranges the way you want it to be. If it's too much of a gap up here, but that will be rectified once you glue it down on the, I'm talking about the gap here, the opening. That should sort out once you glue it down on the project. Right now, let's finish the frame. So for the frame, again, this is 5 1/8 by 5 1/8. I'm gonna quickly ink it now on the outside. I'm gonna take the frame punch. Once again, this is mounted at a 1/4 of an inch on both ends, on both corners. And because it's a smaller piece, I'm gonna use their own mechanism to cut it. Sometimes I find this a little bit too much time consuming, to tell the truth. Because you have to take the blade out every time in order to be able to lift this up and down to put your piece in there. Plus it's of course very small. And you are limited in the size of the frame. As you can see, probably the maximum for this is like, I would say, if this is 5 1/8, let's maybe like 5 1/2. I know they try to make these pieces as small as possible, but maybe they should have made a second one where you have this ruler up to 12 inch. That would have been nice. Okay. Put this on the side, we don't need it right now. Now let's come with ink on the inside of the frame. Remove the tape in the same manner as before. So once again, I'm concentrating towards the bottom right now, making sure that everything is nice and straight here and it looks good. Then I'm going up and I'm happy here too. So now I'm ready to glue this down. Okay, and this is done too. Okay, try to clean up a little bit. So now we are ready to bring in our pieces and our as you can see, this page will not have any matting because these frames are big that they will take the full page. And if you are adding any matting, it's not going to be seen and it will only create bulk. So I decided for this page not to have any matting, just to apply the, so this will sit here. These frames are going to sit here and here. Okay, let's take this away from here. When you attach the frame, try and attach like 1/8 of an inch away from the where the spine would be, okay? Because you don't want to create that bulk at the spine. You're trying to stay away from it as much as possible. And this looks good right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the back taping just here on this piece. I'm going to apply some, how do you call it? Some wet glue on top of the tape. Okay. You can even open these flaps for the time being if you need to. So actually this one stays in because you want to make sure that you are attaching it straight. So I would say like 1/8 of an inch away from the spine. Make sure you're nice and straight. Okay. And everything looks nice. So I'm ready to actually glue it down. Did a boob there. So I'm gonna do it again. I forgot that this flap is glued down, so I was trying to open it up and see what's going on. And therefore, that means that we're gonna have problems with these flaps then. So backing up. Once again, I forgot that this flap is glued down. So I am going to, this one will have to do it all in one go, regretfully. Making sure that everything is nice and straight. So let's remove some of it. And let's do it again. So around 1/8 of an inch away from the spine. Keep it in place. Now make sure that those flaps are keeping our pieces in the middle. Press it down, it should stay nice and flat, and remove the tape backing. Oh, damn. Don't you love it when that happens? And everything was fine. Phew. There is no catching. Okay, enough playing, right? So that's the way to do this piece. And I'm glad now that I actually removed the other one. I already did it. It was bugging me, it was not correct, and it was catching a lot. But by gluing the back piece onto that flap, I can't explain it, keeps the piece a, a little bit more open, and therefore the floating piece has room to come back and forth and is not going to create so much catching. I can feel it catching a little bit, but as you can see, it allows me to move it back and forth. So once again, here I'm like, let's measure it now, 1/8 of an inch away from the spine, and at the base I'm like 1/16 of an inch. So I left just a little bit of space at the base here. So now we are ready to glue these pictures or these frames. Let me make sure that I judge this correctly, because okay, this one it should be here, and this one it will be all the way to the end of the piece. Okay, so let's glue this one first, and this one we are going to glue it to align with here. Okay, so let's put this on the side for a second and finish putting tape on this. So now I am ready to remove the tape backing, to apply more tape backing. What is this? Okay. If you hear any noise at all, it's my dogs playing around. I have two wonderful dogs, Robbie and Sasha. Okay. So this is going to butt against this frame and of course along. And I'm gonna press it down. Okay, that's great. And as you can see now the frame sits a lot flatter, right? And now the last one here. And I think at this point I'm quite done with This album is so thick and I still have a lot of pictures to go. I would say, I don't know, probably like another 45 or 50, something like that. So at this point, I'm going to stay as flat as possible. And I'm not, I don't think, I don't think, so I always change my mind. I don't think I'm going to create any more, how do you call it? Any more pop-up pieces. I think I'm gonna stay as flat as I can. This will be a really thick spine album. The only thing is the spine of my album will be dependent on how thick my all the pages together are going to be at the end. So I will have to tell you guys that maybe the spine that I'm gonna make for this album, which is so thick, and also of course it depends on what papers you are using as a base or the pictures, so everything, anything that adds to the thickness. So the spine I'm gonna create for this album, I'm not gonna be able to tell what its width until it's actually album is all finished or the pages are finished. And it may not match your album, but I'm going to show you how I actually calculate the spine on my albums. Okay, so this probably will help you to create the proper spine for your album. Okay, so this one, it will just sit exactly here. It feels like it was sitting a little bit on top of the bottom one. So butt it against the bottom and against the other. Okay, much better. This one, it's actually till the end of the paper, okay? Just like the other frame. And voila, we are done. All the mechanisms work perfectly. This, like I said, these are 4 pockets, but you're more than happy not to. I mean, 4 pockets in the sense that the picture doesn't come in and out. There is no tag in there to pull in and out, but you can use them as functional pockets if you want. That's your decision if you want to create tags and for the text to come out. So when we are going to work on the next page, I will be back with another video. And just so I can show you, this is how these 2 pages are going to be visible in the album. So here, this piece pulls out like this. And here, this piece pulls out like this. Okay, so these are the 2 pages. The layout is similar because these 2 pages are going to be next to each other in the album. And now we have to work on this one in the next video. Thank you and have a good day for now.